Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you so much for joining us here on the program. You know, we come your way Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. We are also on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and those are the podcast locations, lots of others as well. And then we're on YouTube now where you can watch these interviews, and we hope that you will subscribe to Tell Me Your Story on YouTube. And Richard Dugan is the website, and all you have to do is look for the guy with the hat, okay? So there you go. We also will be giving you our guest website so that you can continue your evolutionary process. And also, if you'd like to support what we're doing, if it resonates with you, we'd love to have your support. We have a PayPal account for your security as well as ours. We also ask you to participate in the 2020s, the decade of perfect vision, going within, seeking that still small voice and finding that quiet, calm, peaceful place where you can just rejuvenate, relax, and just basically recharge the batteries, as it were. We have a returning guest, Kristi Tornabene. She is joining us again to talk about health and wellness and well-being. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you. And I'm so glad that you got over your diabetes.
Well, you know, it only took me, it took me less than 2 months.
Yep.
And I have to say that the one thing that just, I have to laugh, but it's almost a laugh of sadness when I see the commercials for the pharmaceuticals that people are promoting, that the pharmaceutical industry is promoting to get your A1C down, to get your blood sugar normal and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, all it takes is adjusting your diet and adding some more movement and exercise into your life. And of course, we were talking about this, my wife and I, when we were seeing some of these commercials, and she says, well, you know, that may be true, but then again, a lot of people just don't have the willpower to do that for whatever reason.
Or they don't know how.
And that to me is really unfortunate. And that's what this program is about. It's to bring you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. If that's getting your A1C back down to where it's supposed to be normal, 5.7 with a daily blood sugar, or, you know, your average should be around 100, 105, 110. The range is between 80 on the low end, still normal. And I believe it's 160 or 170 on the high end. It's still normal.
That's gotten higher since I've been a med tech.
Yeah, well, and again, that's just what they're showing. But you know, my peak so far since my blood sugar was checked and my A1C was returned to 5.7, my highest has been 155. But I just had a slice of apple pie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, if your blood sugar stays where around the area it's supposed to, then you're fine. It's going to peak every once in a while. That's just what it does, right?
Well, since diabetes runs in my family, I don't eat apple pie anymore. I eat plain apples.
Well, that's a good thing too. I love apples, especially with peanut butter on them. Thank you very much. Very tasty.
Yeah.
But
almond butter is better for you.
I couldn't agree with you more. Almond butter. I've even tried cashew butter. That's really good too.
Well, cashews are not on a bunch of people's lists.
I hear you. Everybody has to find their happy medium, and they've got to find those foods that help them, support them, because we're all different. And so it takes different foods for us to do that. On today's program, we are going to talk about health and wellness. You know, one of the things that just occurred to me as I was talking about the decade of perfect vision, and especially with health, is a modality. I haven't used it a lot, and maybe it's more because, you know, I tend to trust my intuition more than anything else, and this is still part of that. But that's a modality called kinesiology. I was taught about this back in the late 80s, early 90s. I learned about kinesiology. They call it muscle testing as well.
Right.
I would think that there comes a point at which you've been using it for so long that you don't need to do the physical process where you take your your index finger, your thumb of one hand, and then you loop the other hand, same thing, like you're making two chains, links in a chain, and you do yes, and it doesn't come apart. You do no, and it comes apart. That kind of thing. When you're going, say, to the grocery store, and you're deciding whether or not this is good for you, not whether it's any good, but whether it's good for you. And your body doesn't lie. Would you say that there does come a point when you become more aware that you just know, no, asparagus, not today, probably not a good idea. Radishes, not bad.
Well, I had to use my list
You're
because
okay.
because I like to try everything and it doesn't work.
Okay. Yeah. And so what you did is you actually found what through trial and error rather than say, being guided. So because on a lot of
I
people they are.
started with a book. It was
Okay.
trial and error with a book.
Okay.
And then I ordered a couple tests, found out I was low carb, and I said, well, I can't eat all this protein because I can't digest it all. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to adjust my proteins. I couldn't eat all the vegetables I thought I liked because it caused pain. So I said, okay, where on this list is the one thing I'm eating that's caused? Oh, tomatoes.
Ah,
For me, it was tomatoes. I went, okay. So I had to cut tomatoes out of all my recipes.
I've heard it said that it isn't so much the tomato, the meat, it's the seeds.
I've
Um,
heard that too.
yeah.
My husband is a blood type O, and as he's getting older, he has more acid reflux. So we've gone to the San Marzano tomatoes
Mm-hmm.
to
Then there's
eliminate
another,
that.
yeah, there's another element too. There's not just one kind of tomato in this
Yep,
case, as we're talking.
that's true.
So maybe
But
you have to try different varieties.
for us blood type A's, B's, and ABs, nightshades are a real problem.
Mm.
So the O's can tolerate tomatoes.
And that's
Eh,
really sort of the focal point of the work that you do is focusing on blood type
Yes, and genotype.
and genotype. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you have to have the person you're working with do a little research on the family history.
Um, a family history would be good because I would like to know what they're dealing with and what problems they have to overcome. And some of the surprises are some of the dirty genes that have been found in people that cause them pain, bad digestion, and all sorts of things.
Hmm.
So this is where I found Dr. Ben Lynch, and
Mm-hmm.
he added a strategene to his
Hmm.
platform. And what it
Strategy.
strategene, it diagnoses all your biochemical pathways and it tells you where you're weak and where you need to supplement. And that's why minerals like manganese and zinc are everywhere in those pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And your B vitamins are in those pathways. And you have to find it somewhere, and preferably food.
Mm. The other remarkable thing about the human body, when you're talking about these different foods and fruits and vegetables, whatever the foods are, in terms of supporting your body, your system, the machine that we reside in as spirit beings, um, is that when you take in the right kinds of foods, those foods then generate what I like to call our internal medicine cabinet, our own personal pharmaceutical company.
Well, they do, and it keeps your biochemical pathways running in the right direction so you don't get bad compounds building up in your system.
And that seems to be a real problem with a lot of folks because they tend to eat the same things all the time.
Well, I eat the same thing all the time simply because I have to get folate in every single meal. But my blood type O friend in Mexico loves variety, and she has a whole list to choose from. I have a whole list to choose from, but I found that I can't digest everything on that list, even though it is good for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you can have this long list of things that are good for you, but then your body is going to react in certain ways to each one of those things. What about the aspect of, I mean, it's fine. I'm just going to eat a tomato, or I'm just going to eat a peach or a pear or what have you. What about the food combining concept? Does that change the metabolistic process in the body?
Well, we have to balance our sodium and our potassium. We have to balance our magnesium and our zinc. So when you eat a fruit, you're eating a lot of potassium. So when you get hungry, what do you eat? Well, you eat something with sodium.
Mm.
So finding out what things you have to balance in your body will help you learn what to eat next and not overeat, because you'll say, oh, I had a protein for lunch. I need a vegetable to balance that protein. And then I can have my fruit a couple hours later so I can digest all this.
Hmm. You also, I'm curious, how long have you been working with people to help them? And again, I take it in addition to a family history, you also need to know their blood type. Which of those two? Obviously, they're in combination, but is there a one that takes precedent over the other if they can't? Let's say they were adopted, they don't know their family history. If you have at least their blood type, that's going to help you to help them.
Yes, the blood type is the first step. The genotype is the second step.
Okay.
And then when you get older, we tend to gravitate towards sweets. So how do we combat that? We find our vitamins and we find out why we need those vitamins.
Hmm. So when someone has a craving for, let's just say, chocolate, are they actually craving the nutrients that are in chocolate, or is it the sweet, the sugar, the legal? I'll put it this way: the legal white powder, the cocaine.
Well, there was a thing on the doctor's TV a long time ago. I believe I put it in the book. It's a link. Crave this, you might need that.
Hmm.
So when you crave chocolate, you might be needing some magnesium.
Okay. So listening to our cravings is also an important element, but it's
Not
not
giving
like
in to them all the time
that's the key.
is the key.
Yeah. My father has always said, eat, drink, and be merry in moderation because nobody gets out of this world alive.
Yes.
But it's how healthy you are. And this is sort of a paradox or a mutually exclusive terms of a matter of speaking. If you die healthy, well, wait a minute. If he was healthy, why did he die? But it's kind of like that old saying about um, uh, the person who is coming to the end of their life and they're running this marathon, and they have a box of chocolates in one hand and a glass of champagne in the other, and they come sliding in exhausted, but boy do they feel good because they lived a good life, they were healthy throughout, and they just said, hey, it's
This
time
is
to go.
this is my husband at 83. He said, "I'm 83. Why can't I eat what I want?" So then one day he can't walk. One day he's exhausted and he ate a spoonful of Jiffy peanut butter with lots of sugar.
Mm,
I said, "Well, maybe the sugar is too much." But he's eating peanut butter and crackers, and where's his vitamins?
yeah. Yeah.
So if he's not going to eat my kale salad, which is in the book, if he's not going to eat the pumpkin seeds I prepare for myself,
Yeah.
then he's not going to get enough magnesium and zinc.
Yeah. I find that it from my perspective and my experience, my wife has been a strong advocate. When my diagnosis of type 2 diabetes came down, she was obviously very concerned, and rightly so. And then, of course, we talked about it, and she says, "You have to promise me that you're not going to drink any more sodas and this and that and the other." And I found alternatives that are okay, low, zero sugar, zero carbs, zero calories, that kind of thing. but I still check the ingredients. And then, of course, staying away from the sweet things and candy bars and those kinds of things. And I've done very well at that.
Yeah.
Um, and I check my blood sugar, not every day anymore, but every other day, maybe, 2 or 3 times a week. Not so much because, after a while, boy, that starts to hurt in the finger. That doesn't bother me. That's a momentary irritation, shall we say. But the one thing that I shared with her in making my commitment to her once I had the meter was, yeah, I'm committed to this because the meter doesn't lie. You cannot hide when you test your blood for glucose
Yes.
because it will rat you out.
And like you say, when you get on metformin and all those things, it pulls B12 out of your body.
Yeah.
So then you need even more
Yeah.
nutrients from somewhere.
Well,
So,
my physician probably isn't listening to this program, so I can say that he's prescribed 2 pills a day. Well, when he first prescribed them, I said I'm only taking one. And again, my blood sugar still went down as I described. So when he tells me that I can go to zero to one, I'm going to stop taking them altogether. I've already
mhm,
read that it takes about 4 to 5 days for this particular chemical, this metformin, to be eliminated from the body. And at that point, I will be taking blood sugar readings in a body that's not taking medications, that is only eating the things in proper portions. That's another issue, is portion control. But that would apply to a lot of issues that we deal with because we tend to eat a heck of a lot more than we should. I mean, remember the plethora that we went through a phase in this country where we had a myriad of all you can eat places.
yes,
Oh my gosh. And then
yes,
even at restaurants where you'd sit down, the size of the plate and the portions were enormous.
yes.
There was
And
a steakhouse in Arizona, in Phoenix, Bill Johnson's Big Apple. We don't fool you, we feed you. That was their slogan,
uh-huh.
and food was literally, leaking out on the edges of the plate.
And it is tough to cut down on your portions when you get older because you're always hungry.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't get your nutrients, you will be hungry.
Yeah.
So, eliminating the triggers for hunger is the other key.
And what are
You
those triggers?
The triggers are sugar and carbs,
Oh.
processed carbs.
Hmm. Well, it's almost impossible, almost, to stay away from sugar. But my question to you is, are you talking about processed sugar exclusively? Because fruits and some vegetables do have sugar in them.
Processed sugars mainly, but too much fruit is a problem.
Okay. What about pure, organic, 100% maple syrup?
Syrup is still sugar.
Okay.
It's one thing that as I got older, I couldn't tolerate anymore because I was hungry. And I said, I know I'm not really hungry because I'd fine tune my diet so much that when I stick something in like agave or honey or maple syrup or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the substitute sugars didn't work either. They really racked my stomach.
Okay. You listed honey. So honey is still
Or
sugar.
sugar. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're all sugars, and I put the least in that I possibly can and try to balance it with enough protein. So in one of the recipes in the book, I have Carla Hall's yogurt cups,
Mm-hmm.
and she uses yogurt which is strained, so it's more concentrated. And then she adds cherries on the bottom, and 1/3, and I cut it down to 1/4 cup of honey. So I cut the honey down,
Mm-hmm.
but it works okay.
My mother, when I was a kid growing up, used to make yogurt with the cultures,
Hmm.
plain, no sugar, no sweeteners. Now, She then made a dessert or a summertime treat for us that was very good. She would mix in orange juice and then put that into ice trays with toothpicks, put it in the freezer, and we had yogurt pops.
Were they good?
They were delicious.
Ah.
And I have no problem with plain yogurt. Matter of fact, I will mix in the appropriate kind of a granola, that kind of thing, or nuts, that kind of, that type of stuff, or fruit. I do like the fruited yogurts. And again, I look for the information on the side where it talks about calories, carbs, and sugar. And I look for the one that has the lowest or none.
Hmm.
Um, and it's interesting how I really wasn't eating a lot of these different things prior to the pandemic, but it wasn't something that it was abhorrent to me post type 2 diabetes.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that we have in this country in particular have we've gotten so used to everything being so sweet. I also understand, Kristi, they even put sugar in salt.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah,
That's
I had heard.
interesting.
Yeah, I had heard. You can't really taste it because the salt is so strong, but I had even heard that some manufacturers actually put a bit of sugar in
Well,
salt.
isn't that what keeps us addicted is the sugar, the sweet, salty things?
Exactly, exactly. It's really amazing. You're joining us from what part of the country?
I'm in North Georgia.
Okay,
We
been in the
moved from,
news. Been in the news a lot lately.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Georgia has been in the news, and I'm glad the Supreme Court made the decision they did.
Yeah, me too. I am too because it's like either you trust the system or you don't. Okay,
Exactly.
and if you don't trust it, fine. I'm not going to sit here and debate whether you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying I'm going to make a decision and either participate or don't. But leave the rest of us alone, please. Now you're in Georgia,
Yes, we
and
moved here from Colorado, actually.
okay. Now, here's something I'd like to talk to you about. And I mentioned food combining. We've talked about sugar. We've talked about, carbs and all of that other stuff. But one of the things that my observation is this, and I want your input on this. You live in Georgia, that part, the Southeast. I live here in California. So we both have growing seasons for different things.
Yes.
And there was a time many years ago where the location where you lived was where you grew your foods, your community, what have you, your fruits and your vegetables, your grains, what have you. And that's what you ate. And as the seasons changed, you learned what to grow and what not to grow so that you could sustain yourself, especially through the winter, maybe store things up and that type of thing.
I know, I know, I know.
So I'm curious as to whether or not it is the wisest thing for us to be eating certain foods. And we're not now talking about the good stuff that's grown in the ground, and that's where you get it from to eat. That we should be um, moving throughout the seasons from one set of foods, fruits and vegetables, and so forth, to another, because our body is like a filtration system. And if you're eating the same stuff over and over and over again, 365, 24/7, 365, so to speak, your body eventually gets clogged up. Whereas if you're putting different foods throughout the different seasons in through your body, it's the body is able to filter through and utilize these different elements during the different seasons
I
so that your
agree.
system doesn't get
I
gunked up.
agree. If I
Okay.
didn't have MTHFR, it's what I would be doing.
Okay. So
Luckily,
that's
my
ideal.
friend, luckily my friend in Mexico can do this
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't have MTHFR, so she can eat the vegetables that come up that are on her list in a variety of different combinations.
Okay.
So it's different for different people.
Right. I
And
get
you
that.
don't have to follow it 100%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If you follow at 80%, that's good.
Hmm.
And it depends on how your body feels.
Okay. Now you've used the acronym there a couple of times. What is this condition that you have? How long have you had it? And is there no cure per se for it? Give us a little history on this and on yourself in that regard.
There's no cure for it. I haven't heard of any gene splicing or anything like this, like they have for other diseases.
Hmm.
Um, but we don't methylate our folates properly. And when you don't, then you don't run your glutathione cycles properly. And you're not supporting your mitochondria properly.
Okay.
So we have to keep all that running. And sometimes some of us have to jump through special hoops, and sometimes we don't.
Well, tell us, you've used some awfully big words there. Can you put that in layman's terms, the normal process of the body systems versus what you are dealing with?
The process of normal body systems, when they run efficiently,
Mm-hmm.
they take in food. They can use all the vitamins in all the food they get. They can take it in fortified cereals. They can take it in any way. They can even take it in pill form. People with MTHFR should not take pills because it builds up and causes cancer. But they can do that. And if they can get their body system running, then they'll feel good even through the age of 90 and maybe even 100.
Mm-hmm. So, what is this MTHFR?
FR.
What is that? Is that a process by which you are unable to do that? Your body
Yes,
is unable to do that.
yes, efficiently.
Okay.
It's not working at 100%. So I have to eat my folates at every meal.
Has there been determined a source cause?
It's a genetic thing that's passed down, and my father's side of the family has it. Two of my cousins died before the age of 70. One of them has Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia, and Lewy body dementia runs in that side of the family.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's a familial thing, and apparently 40 to 50% of the population have this gene.
Would you say that this condition or conditions like it, where our diet over the last 50, 75 years in this country specifically, have contributed to the brain's inability to function normally, to where we have these conditions, these issues of dementia and Alzheimer's and so forth?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't believe there's an environmental cause, but how did my grandma live to 91 even though she couldn't walk? I do not know the answer to that because my father died at 79.
Did your grandmother smoke cigars or drink whiskey?
No, she did not.
Because I love those stories of centenarians who are asked, "So, what do you attribute your longevity to?" So, well, I had a cigar every day and a couple of shots of moonshine or whiskey, or
Yep,
yeah, or even in Russia, you hear about these 100-year-olds, and it was vodka.
right, right.
Well, again, everybody's different, because there are people who did that and they die in their 60s or 70s, that kind of thing.
Yep, that's true.
You have
So,
some stories. No, I want you to go ahead and before we get to the stories.
no, that's okay. I'm done.
Okay. Tell us, you have a couple of stories that you wanted to share with our listeners that exemplify the conditions that are out there and the work that you do to support and facilitate people to better health and well-being.
Well, one lady in my book thought she had myasthenia gravis. It turned out she was actually hypokalemic. So she has to take more potassium than a normal person would.
Hmm.
And then there's one lady who used my book to lose 90 pounds in 5 months. How did she do this?
Wow.
She used the Whole30 diet. She cut out all dairy, all sugar, all grains, and all beans. and she
Hmm.
lost 90 pounds in 5 months. She was really had a big belly, and now she has none. But who can do that like she did? Cut out all those things at once. I had a hard time.
Well, yeah. That's,
So,
I mean, again, everybody's different.
mhm.
Um, are how much of an impact from your experience does our nutrition, our bodily, our biology affect our emotional state? I know I mentioned earlier that we have our own personal pharmaceutical company, manufacturing plant within us. And if we aren't giving ourselves the right nutrients, then that manufacturing plant
Well,
puts out
there's the
junk.
MTHFR, which causes depression. COMT is another condition, and I can't describe to you how to fix it, but there is a pathway that Ben Lynch put up last night on a webinar that shows how you can run your processes so that your brain and your COMT runs efficiently.
Mhm.
So again, here we go back to the Strategene, which is a test on my website under books and tests that I think you can use to find what you need to do to optimize your health.
We are in this country in need of a lot of help. I'm curious as to when you came to the realization that you were a healer, and that you wanted to help people.
I came to the realization when I was able to eliminate my pain on a consistent basis.
Hmm.
And I worked to get there because if I couldn't solve it, I couldn't help anyone else solve it.
Your website is Keys to Basic Health, and that too is TO. So keys to basic health.com. And we encourage people, we'll be linked to your website as with our previous interview. This is actually your second visit to our program, and we're very grateful that you are giving us the time to talk more about this. Um, you also have links on your website, not only to your books and test kits, but also, I think, extremely important, you have recipes for the various blood types. And there's A, B, B, O. Um, the only way to find out what your blood type is, obviously, is to have it tested. And that's a specific test, right?
Yes, or you can donate blood if you want.
Okay. Um, I often wonder in a lifetime, if you're not a donator, a person who donates blood to the blood bank, I wonder how often, how much blood we eventually have siphoned out of us for testing over our lifetimes.
It's not
Obviously.
enough to make your red cells regenerate. So I have one friend who donated every year. She said to keep her liver clean
Mm.
and to get her red cells new so they weren't old.
And what is the downside of elderly or aging red blood cells?
Oh, I guess it's the same. I would have to compare it to the way they try to keep your bone from regenerating. They've prescribed Actonel and Fosamax, and now someone wants to put strontium in your bones, and I'm going, wow. My husband's a biochemist, and he doesn't believe in chemicals and he doesn't believe in minerals. And so to keep your bones stagnant is a problem. They'll still be brittle and they'll still break.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to keep things renewing, regenerating, rebuilding. You've got to keep it going.
You know, when you said your husband doesn't believe in those things, you ever come back with, well, you may not believe in them, but they believe in you.
No, I haven't,
I
because that's why I do this with food.
mhm. Is there, and I know you've probably seen this or read about this in various newspapers, magazines, periodicals, on television or on the radio, when they start talking about the perfect food. and we get a new one every so often, that it has everything you could possibly need. Is there really such a thing?
I don't think so. There's options like the quercetins. You know how they said an apple a day will keep the
Mm-hmm.
doctor away?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's choices. You can have an apple, you can eat onions, you can eat apricots. So you can't eat everything. So you find out which nutrients you need for your body, like which ones you need to prevent cancer, which ones you need to prevent inflammation, and you pick the one that you like the best.
I don't know if we talked about this the last time you were on the program, and it may have been fairly early on. Matter of fact, I can actually tell you it was actually May 20th we had our chat, and that was 3 months into the pandemic for the United States. And you had talked, am I correct? You had talked about how it's not that you have a cure for the virus, but that it's important for us, regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not, to fortify our immune systems.
Absolutely.
What are the
Absolutely.
key elements that we need to fortify our immune systems?
We need to prevent disease. How do we do that? We find what our body needs. We support it with what our body needs. We eat the food we need for our bodies so we don't get fat, and we avoid disease.
Okay. Are there particular foods that are better than others, or is this going back to the individual
It's going back to
list?
the individual because everybody needs vitamin B12 and riboflavin and things like this. Blood type O's, if liver's on their list, that's preferable for them. For me as a blood type A, salmon is preferable for me. So all proteins have B12 and all that,
Hmm.
and you got to choose the one that works best for you.
Yeah. And of course, are there ways of testing that? I mean, how does one know that one is? I find this funny in these pharmaceutical commercials. Don't take this if you're allergic to it, or the ingredients therein. I'm going, well, how would I know that
Well,
until
when
I
you,
take it? You
yes,
know.
that's what
So
happens. You take
so
it and find out.
so is that the only way to find out whether or not you might a particular food for my blood type is good for me or not good for me? Is I'm gonna have to try it, and it's
That was
trial and error.
my that was my experience. That's why I went through a process of fine tuning, figuring out, okay, I need turkey instead of chicken. I need turkey instead of beef. So I started with turkey chili and turkey gumbo. Okay, those both have tomatoes. So, uh-oh, I can't have tomatoes. So, okay, let's go to chow mein.
Hmm.
Let's go to chow mein, which I can make with turkey and it has no tomatoes. And let's go to a simple meal of a protein and a vegetable, a protein with broccoli or something like that. Okay, I made collard greens for a while and I didn't feel good. And I said, okay, well, what do I need to do to change? So then I tried a romaine salad and I said, oh, that works. So I kept that and I don't make collard greens anymore. So I fine tuned what depending on how I felt.
Hmm. So you do it by feel. Is there any intuition on your part?
It is if I can walk or not, if I hurt or not, if I digest well or not, all those things.
Okay. So I would want to take a look at it. And this is something we did when I first started checking my blood sugar, and I would get the spikes and this and that and the other. Okay, well, what did I have in the last 24 hours? What did I eat in the last 24 hours? And
Yeah,
so that was the process that I went through.
right.
If, for example, if I clench my fists and I'm feeling pressure in the joints, not pain, pressure, okay,
Yes,
which there's some inflammation there. All right,
yes.
what have I had in the last 24, say 48 hours? Have I had enough water? You know, that type of thing. Or have I had too much of something else?
Uh-huh.
And so there is very little intuition, and it's more, in a manner of speaking, experimentation.
Yeah.
I met
And
a woman. Go ahead.
it's I found that the more protein I ate, the more carbs I needed to eat to balance it. So therefore, to get my carbs down, I had to minimize the size of my protein to eat a regular size portion of carbs, salad, broccoli, asparagus.
Hmm. Kristi Tornabene is my guest. We're talking about health and wellness. We're talking about the work that she does, and through her website, Keys to Basic Health. Um, basic health is really uh, our overall health and well-being. And one of the things that I have found interesting, and this has to do with my observations in terms of the commercials we were watching that I described earlier. And one of the things that I found interesting, and it was the day I was diagnosed, July 24th. By the way, my last soda was July 23rd. Haven't had one since. Um, we went to lunch at a restaurant, and we like ordering the fried chicken sandwich because it has avocado and all the vegetables and everything. But this time, instead of ordering fries with it, we ordered a salad, and we said, could you bring us that sandwich without the bread? So we started out that first meal following the diagnosis. We started out doing what we could to begin the process. And I don't have a problem doing that. I mean, we even went to lunch once 2 or 3 weeks later. I did the same thing with, with the protein I was going to have in a sandwich. And I says, I didn't ask for no bread. I just didn't eat it. I just didn't eat the bread
Right.
because I didn't need
Right.
the carbs. So this is something that each person literally has to ferret out for themselves, but they can do that through the work that you do and the things that you make available on your website, keystoBasicHealth.com, so as to facilitate this process. Now, I know you said when you work with somebody, you need to know your blood type and your family history, health history. My mother told me that high blood pressure runs in our family, told me that that type 2 diabetes runs in our family. I mean, there was this list of things that runs in our family, and I'm going, well, not going to run in me. I, you know, um, I'm still dealing with the issue of high blood pressure, but it's more of a psychological issue than it is biological.
I took a test from Euphoria, and they told me for genetically high blood pressure, eat artichokes, and I do.
Oh, thank you so much. I love artichokes. They,
Okay.
it's one of those vegetables. It is a vegetable, right? Because
Yes.
sometimes I'm confused. Strawberries are a vegetable, and avocados are a fruit, and so is tomato. But anyway, it's one of those vegetables, avocado, artichoke. I say, whoever first thought to steam and eat these was really, really hungry. You know, not because I love them. They taste great, especially the heart once you get through the leaves.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work that you got to go through. I mean, I don't know
Well,
how many calories you burn
they
off
have
with your.
they have cans of
I know.
quartered artichokes that I use.
Oh, okay. Well, we like to buy them in the produce section, and we've actually cut them in half. Okay, from top to bottom, we cut them in half, and then we roast them or grill them, and so forth. We also do it whole in a pot of water.
Hmm.
But they are absolutely delicious. They're a great opener appetizer for the meal. Sometimes they're the meal.
Hmm.
So they're really wonderful, and I'm gonna remember that when we go to the produce section next time and say, okay, for my high blood pressure, I need to start eating more artichokes, and I'll look for the cans. I'll look for the cans of quarter
Yeah.
artichokes.
Okay.
I know they sell artichoke hearts in jars. You know,
Yep. That's a
that's
lot
an
of oil and spices and salt.
yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things too. I'm wondering, herbs and spices. that we add to flavor our foods. Most of them, and again, we're now talking grown of spices and herbs, um, are good additives in terms of adding a flavor to, or sometimes enhancing or bringing out the flavor in whatever we're eating. Are there particular ones, or just again, you go back to the process of trial and error or experimentation
Well, I
based upon your
like
blood type?
parsley.
Hmm.
It's an apigenin like celery, which helps prevent cancer, according to Dr. Lee.
Hmm.
I like turmeric.
I hear that's very good.
Yeah, but I mostly eat cherries for in,
Infl-
anti-inflammatory things,
right?
and I eat onions. I eat onions in my salad for that reason. And onions are also the quercetin that I need every day. So there's overlap. You don't have to eat everything.
Right, right. But you have such a wonderful diversity that's out there. Don't sell yourself short from the standpoint that there's a wide choice out there. You don't have to choose the first thing that's at the end of the produce section. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And we talk about giving people choices and knowledge of those choices.
Right.
I was unaware, although I find it hard to believe that I was unaware of this, because of so much research that both my wife and I have done about artichokes and high blood pressure.
Yeah.
I know turmeric's supposed to be good for inflammation. Several others, cherry juice. I love cherry juice. Matter of fact, I'm able to mix that with other beverages and enjoy the benefits of the cherry juice. Although the downside is, even though I get the tart, with no added sugar,
Hmm.
I was also told that it's not good for one's blood sugar. But then there are other things that I can eat that help to um, balance the metabolizing of the sugar.
Yes.
That my system, at least it was in a state where it was metabolizing it too quickly, and so that's where I would get the spikes.
Well, that's where I added the vegetables because I couldn't do straight fruits.
Yeah. But again, it's like, my gosh, the planet has got so many wonderful things that are available to us. Now, obviously, you found out about a majority of all of that you are teaching now through the doctor that you were mentioning. But I'm wondering. I was going to mention about this woman that I met in Phoenix many years ago who had this deck of 52 cards. And on those cards were printed on one side these various plants that grew in the Southwest desert that were edible. On the other side was the information about it and maybe even a recipe on how to prepare it. She called herself the Wild Weed Woman.
Hmm.
And she told the story of how she began this, where she was watching the news, and she was watching the first desert storm, and she saw this family sitting on the side of the road, and they were excuse me, um, they were hungry. They wanted something to eat, and they had virtually nothing, and yet there they were, kneeling on the side of the road, and they were kneeling in some plants that she recognized that were highly nutritious, and obviously inedible. And yet here these people were, they were starving. They
So
had
does
no.
she eat them raw or does she have to cook them?
Well, that's what's interesting, is that there are different recipes. Matter of fact, when the rains came to Arizona and where I worked out in the this one farm field, the tumbleweeds started to grow. Well, tumbleweeds don't grow brown and prickly; they start out as green. Well,
Hmm.
one of the plants that she had listed was the tumbleweed. And what you do is, while it is still green, you cut the 2-inch ends off of the plant, and you can put that in water. Maybe you put it with other vegetables and potatoes and things of this nature to make a soup. I
Mm.
tried that, and you can even eat those because when they're green, they're still soft.
Uh-huh.
They're not prickly, and they were very good
Wow, sounds wonderful.
and very nutritious.
Uh-huh.
So this is the thing that is fascinating to me is how much is out there that we walk right by every day, and we don't know its medicinal or nutritional benefits to our bodies. And
Right.
that's why these plants are here.
Yep.
What about
God made the world for us.
absolutely? Now, you mentioned no chicken, no beef, but turkey is okay. What are your thoughts about, I'll put it this way, animal consumption?
I'm the one who needs protein. I hurt when I don't eat enough protein. But I found that I can survive on yogurt, sardines, and salmon.
Yogurt, okay. Sardines, I don't know. Salmon, I think I could handle that.
Yeah.
I love seared ahi tuna, if that's any indication. Um, but sardines, I have not really tried, nor anchovies.
Anchovies are a little salty, aren't they?
That's my understanding is they're a little salty. Um,
I tried to make my own Caesar dressing once.
yeah.
Yeah.
How successful was that?
Well, I wanted the recipe from Bistro 29 up in Murphy, and you couldn't see it on the salad, but you could smell the garlic.
Oh. Hmm.
And I am looking for that guy.
If you're listening, you know where to go. Keys to betterhealth.com.
Basic health.
Basic Health, beg your pardon, keys to basichealth.com. And you can get in touch with Kristi Tornabene in regards to the work that she's doing. But she's also trying to, the other work is she's trying to create this salad dressing. Help her out. I don't have any ins in that regard, in spite of all the wonderful restaurants here in Santa Barbara. I marvel at the work that folks such as yourself do to come up with answers for people. How many people do you have a record of how many people you have supported, assisted, and facilitated to better health?
Oh, hundreds.
Mm,
But I hope to help more.
yeah. And do you think that the pandemic that hopefully we're coming to an end with it here in the not too distant future um, is going to make our health and well-being maybe a little bit more in jeopardy because, as I described earlier, because of my blood sugar issue, they went to the comfort foods, and now we're going to have all of these different conditions, and it's going to put our nation's health and well-being maybe at risk.
This is what I have heard. So we need to get people back to the produce section of the store instead of in the middle of the
Yeah,
store.
yeah. You cannot. I don't care how hard you try, folks. You cannot make a healthy Twinkie. I really don't think you can.
No.
Well, Kristi Tornabene, is there a particular motto or message that you put out to people when talking about basic health and well-being?
I believe you can find your way to health. I believe that it's possible to get better if you're not, and to stay better if you are.
Hmm. Well, I am very appreciative of your giving us this time again. You have, I'm sure, hundreds of stories of people who had maybe terminal conditions, disease, who basically took the bull by the horn, so to speak. They had the willpower because they wanted to live, not die, and they turned it around. But you don't hear too much about those these days.
Yeah.
You're hearing more, but
It takes courage to change.
yeah. I just didn't want to. I found out, of course, that it would be a very severe case of type 2 diabetes if I didn't turn it around, and I would have to start taking insulin. I think my dislike of needles was part of the impetus.
I'm so glad
um,
that you have a little bit of the knowledge to take your health in your hands.
yeah, absolutely. And so you're encouraging others as well to take health into their hands. I would highly recommend you go to keystobasichealth.com. Kristi Tornabene has been my guest. And again, I thank you so much for giving us this wonderful insight into what we can do. And I am going to, I wouldn't think it would be that expensive, but insurance probably covers. I've got to figure out what my blood type is. I don't know. My wife knows hers. And for whatever reason, I don't know what mine is. I don't know that it's in my baby book that my mother gave me when I was 21 and I moved out. But maybe I can find it somewhere and then go that
I'll
direction.
send you a link to a $10 test if you
Oh,
want.
okay. I mean, I've been pricking my finger with those styluses with the blood sugar testing meter, so it's not like I'm afraid to put some blood somewhere. By the way, one other thing, and I think I ordered this through your website,
The
pH
pH,
strips.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Why is pH balance, the what is it, alkaline versus acid, so important in our systems?
because our body operates in the middle, right in neutral at pH 7. And when we
Okay.
deviate from that, it pulls out nutrients from our body to get back to normal. So that's how we get osteopenia and osteoporosis and all
All
kinds
those
of other things.
all of those other osteo things.
Yes.
Before I let you go, I do want to ask you three questions that I may have asked you back in May, but I'm going to ask again because sometimes the answers change. Sometimes they don't. You may have touched upon them during the interview, but I like to ask them pointedly. Before I do, though, I want to let our listeners know that this program is here Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., streaming live at richarddugan.com. Podcasts on richarddugan.com via SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, and other locations. You are reposting our interviews too, and I thank you for that. If what we've been talking about resonates with you, I hope it does. Not only go to keys2basichealth.com, we will be linked to that website as well. But also, if this resonates with you and you'd like to support the work we're doing, we would love to have your financial support. That's why we have a PayPal and Patreon account for your security as well as ours. And please take time to go within during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s. We hope that you will do that, and we hope that you will continue to listen to these programs on the podcast, the broadcast, as well as on YouTube. Richard Dugan is the website. Just look for the guy with the hat. Before we go, we always like to ask our guests three final questions, even if they're a returning guest. I've had people on here 5 and 6 times, Kristi. So, sometimes the answers change. So my first question to you is, who is Kristi Tornabene?
Kristi Tornabene is a 66-year-old woman who can go to the grocery store for her 83-year-old husband, do all the shopping and not hurt, walk up and down stairs without pain, and work on her projects, which include quilting, knitting, looming, cooking a little bit, all those things.
Work that you are doing now.
Yes.
Kristi?
Did you ask a second question? You were frozen a little bit.
Okay. Second question. What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you're doing now?
I hope to help others sail through middle age with fun in their lives and happiness and hope and all the things that they wish for themselves and their children. I have a new course, which is https://www.12, the number 12, keys, the number 2, basichealth.com/12 keys hyphen landing. That's my new course.
That's your new course, and we hope people will take advantage of that. And final question is, what is your life's purpose?
My life's purpose is to empower people to become the best they can so that they can help others. and keep on with the processes they have.
Well, again, we thank you so much for giving us this time and this second interview, and we're going to stay in touch to continue to educate our listeners as well as inspire through the stories that you have available. And the title of the book that people want to pick up is what?
It's Keys Number 2 Basic Health, and it's on Amazon. But if you can't find it, just search for my name, Kristi, Kristi, Tornabene, Tornabene, and it's in other countries also.
Wonderful. Other languages, great. Kristi Tornabene, I want to thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to having you back again in the not too distant future. I thank you for listening to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to lol.